Good evening and welcome to the Wadsworth Public Library's 28th Annual Candidate Forum. I'm Daniel Slife, Library Director, and I'll be moderating this evening's event. The Candidate Forum is brought to you in partnership with the Wadsworth Area Chamber of Commerce. We're grateful for the Chamber's support in helping to get the word out about this important opportunity for voters to learn more about the candidates. Tonight's event marks our first in our 28th year of the forum with a movement to the digital live streaming platform. While some minor adjustments have been necessary, the rules of engagement remain the same. Tonight's event is a forum, and as a forum, an opportunity for voters to learn more about each candidate's perspective on the issues pertaining to their office. Tonight's event is not a debate, but a chance for candidates to describe how they will address those issues. In our first section, each candidate will have the opportunity to provide a 2-minute introduction. We'll proceed in an alphabetical order by last name, irrespective of office, during the introduction round. Following introductions, we will proceed to questions addressed to the offices. Now, additionally, we are planning on opening that up for more right now or right after the introductions, then taking a pause. But we received so many questions on the initial prompt since last Monday, that we're going to move right into the questions. If you would like to submit another question for consideration as we move into that next round, feel free to go to wadsworthlibrary.com/live, click on the Candidate Forum live streaming icon, and in the description box, you'll find the URL for the form through which you can submit your question. Due to time restrictions, we will not be able to ask all questions submitted. And also questions that do not directly pertain to the jurisdiction of the particular office or which are directed at people rather than issues will not be considered. Questions will begin in reverse alphabetical order by last name during the question round. And in addition to that, I'd like to just point out before we get started that one of the great benefits of doing this live streaming we've now learned is that many folks have been able to participate from a wider geographical region. And so we have a lot more candidates tonight than we usually do. And by necessity, we're going to need to work differently with the question round to make sure that every candidate gets an opportunity to speak to the issues tonight. So without further delay, we will begin with introductions. Our first candidate is running for the House of Representatives, Ohio House of Representatives, 69th District, Donna B Height.
Hi, I'm Donna B Height. I'm running for the Ohio House of Representatives. I am an Air Force veteran, a former small business owner, and I'm a mom. I am running for public office because I want to represent the people in this district, not large corporations, and to ensure that our state's budget actually reflects the priorities in our community. A budget that invests in our children and takes care of our seniors. A budget that invests in renewable energy production and takes care of our environment. A budget that invests in small businesses and takes care of our workforce. And a government, a budget that takes care of our local government, right? So we can take care of our communities. We must break the cycle of corruption at the State House. And a vote for me does that. It breaks that cycle of corruption. Our voices are being drowned out and have been for a long time from our, from the corporate lobbyists, right? And the corporate greed. So vote for me, November 3rd, put me to work for you at the State House. My name is Donna B Height. I'm running for the Ohio House of Representatives. And on November 3rd, I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Running for the Ohio Supreme Court, Jennifer Brunner. We will move on to running for Medina County Treasurer, John Burke.
Good evening. I'm Medina County Treasurer John Burke, and I'm a lifelong resident of Medina County. Graduated from Medina High School, and after receiving my MBA from Miami University, I worked 18 years in private industry. Since 1994, I've been your county treasurer. And even though this time is the first time I've had no opponent in my election, I think it is important that voters know what I've accomplished as your treasurer. As the chief investment officer of the county, I currently collect about $650 million a year for the county. and my portfolio averages about $90 million. Using sound investment strategy over the years, I've earned $64 million in interest earnings on investments. That's a record high and enough to cover the county's general fund to operate for about a year and a half. At the same time, I've maintained the safety and never lost any money in our investment. I also collected $159 million in delinquent tax, another record high, and together with the investment earnings, that's $223 million. That's extra revenue for the county. That helps to pay for county services and keep our taxes low in the county. It's equal to saving each family in Medina County about $4,600. I keep my office lean. My budget in 2019 was less than it was in 2004, 15 years ago. I've expanded services with innovative programs such as Fix-It Funds, which has helped over 1,000 homeowners to obtain $14 million in low-interest home improvement loans. We've also helped 6,000 residents recover $2.4 million in unclaimed funds from the state. I'm proud to have been named Ohio's Public Fund Manager of the Year out of 3,500 public fund managers, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve again as your county treasurer. I encourage all residents to be informed voters and participate in this important election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Next up, running for Medina County Common Pleas Court, Mike Callow.
Thank you. My name is Mike Kell. I want to thank the Wadsworth Library for having us meet the candidates night. Wadsworth, you know me. My name is Mike Kell. We lived for 15 years on Householder Boulevard before moving to Westfield Center. You know me because I've been involved in your community. I've been coaching. I've been running programs and directing. You know my wife, Julie, and our 6 kids now and 1 grandson. You know me, but let me introduce you again as an attorney. I've got 24 years of litigation experience in courtroom. And you know me because I've represented your sons and your daughters in your divorces, your criminal cases, your probate cases, your juvenile cases. I've got broad experience in over 25 different courtrooms in the state of Ohio. My opponent knows me too. When she needed someone to serve on her drug court program, I was the lawyer she chose. When she needed someone to serve on her mental health court docket, I was the lawyer on that. I was the one who put together the seminar to try to help people to learn about the programs and use the programs to the benefits. That's the kind of broad experience that she knows I have. She and her husband over the last 34 years have appointed me to hundreds of cases in the criminal courtroom, and hundreds of times heard someone say, "Are you satisfied with Mike Kell?" And the answer is yes, yes, sir. You're damn right I am. That's the lawyer that I am. I want to bring that experience and that service to the bench. I think I can make a difference. I believe that my experience matters, and I believe I can make a difference as Common Pleas Court. I'll be asking for your vote on November 3rd because I think together we can make a difference. We can bring justice to victims. We can bring fair punishment to defendants. We can treat the people who need treatment, and we can know the difference because I've been doing it for 24 years to rectify and identify the difference. So I'll ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, running for the State Board of Education, 5th District, Christina Collins.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I am Christina Collins, running for the State Board of Education in District 5. I'm a mother of 4, ages 11, 10, 4, and 2, an educator of 12 years, and I have a PhD from Kent State in Curriculum and Instruction, as well as a superintendent's license. I am running for this position because I believe my expertise and experience will be of benefit as Ohio experiences new challenges in its educational system. I am innovative, a critical thinker, a listener, and a collaborator, and we need these traits on our state board as Ohio schools deal with difficult issues such as equity, inclusivity, and diversity, and measuring and reporting student achievement. During my career, I have had the unique experience of implementing state policies and initiatives, both as a high school English teacher, as well as through my 8 years as a curriculum director. I have served in roles that have allowed me to see how the rubber meets the road, so to speak. In the last decade, I have led districts through the transition of standards and tests, and I learned how difficult and slow-going change in education can be. I have spent every summer, except this one, diving into data to unravel the state report card and its complexities, and I have learned how the report card can misrepresent our districts. I have encouraged and promoted the adoption of curriculum resources that allowed for representation for all students, and I have learned how local community needs can impact instruction in our schools. We are facing unusual times in education as our schools make their way through restarting as a result of a pandemic. Our schools are making decisions they have never had to make before, and they are teaching in new and different ways. This affords us an excellent opportunity to refocus our efforts on supporting our traditional public schools. I will advocate for all students through fair funding, supporting the state board's resolution to condemn racism, increasing mental health and wellness supports. I look forward to bringing an educator's perspective to the state board, and I would appreciate your vote this fall.
Thank you. Next up, running for Medina County Commissioner, Michael Conway.
Thank you. I'm Mike Conway. I'm running for Medina County Commissioner. I've lived in Medina County for over 20 years, and I've been a trial lawyer in this county for that same amount of time. Prior to becoming a trial lawyer, I was a captain in the United States Marine Corps in the infantry, and I've even had blue-collar experience being a steel worker and even working in cornfields as a kid. I've been working my whole life, and I understand the working man. I think that Medina County needs a leader in the commissioner position. With my background and experience, I believe I can supply that leadership. I'm a problem solver. I solve problems for a living as a trial lawyer, and I've sued multi-billion-dollar corporations for injustices, and we've collected in those cases. And I understand economics. This county is on the edge of a economic area that's as big as Japan's in terms of gross domestic product, and we're not tapping into that. And we also have issues with the courthouse. It's under designed and over budget. We have to take that back to square one and work on it together. So those are just some of the issues I intend to address as county commissioner, and I hope that you'll vote for me on election day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, running for Judge of Medina County Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile and Probate Division, Kevin Dunn.
Thank you. I'm Judge Dunn. I've been the judge of the Medina County Probate and Juvenile Court for 7 years. I hope to continue that job because I'm experienced, caring, and effective. I grew up in Medina, Ohio. My father was the first Parks and Recreation Director for the city. My mother was an English teacher. I lived there with my sister. I'm married, live in Westfield Center, Ohio, and I currently have 2 adult children. I received my bachelor's at Miami of Ohio and my law degree from the University of Akron. Upon graduating, passing the bar, I spent 22 years of meaningful practice hours in areas that actually come before my court. I need no training wheels to do my job. On the bench, I've heard thousands of matters: estates, guardians, adoption, delinquent children, neglected, dependent, abused children. I've issued thousands of marriage licenses and done numerous name changes, just to say a few, along with all the other things that come to my court from the other courts. Our court is a touchstone of services from life through death. We work with the most vulnerable people. We have a $3.2 million budget, employ 60 people at the court, as well as the detention center. We offer effective programming with evidence-based outcomes, where we hold kids accountable and parents accountable for their kids. We offer a volunteer guardianship program for the most vulnerable in our society. We offer TI 180 intervention program to get the kids back on track. We offer a drug court to get our children off of drugs. We also use a take control program to give kids the opportunity to drive behind the wheel in dangerous and risky driving situations so they can learn to be better drivers at no cost to them. We've had over 1,100 people, 1,100 children go through that program. I'm Judge Dunn, and I respectfully ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have running for the United States Congress 16th District, Aaron Godfrey.
Thanks for having me. My name is Aaron Paul Godfrey, and I'm running to represent Ohio's 16th Congressional District. I'm a 34-year-old scientist and a first-generation college graduate from a working-class family, but there's a lot of reasons I'm running for office, and it all starts with my dad. When I was in high school, he was diagnosed with diabetes, and we didn't have the money for insulin. He had to choose between his medicine or a roof over our heads and food on the table. When our insurance started calling it a pre-existing condition, it became even less affordable. Eventually, the lack of medicine for his diabetes cost him his life, and that's wrong. Now, many of us are familiar with diabetes. It's a treatable, manageable disease if you have the resources. My dad isn't alone in this fate either. Even after the Affordable Care Act passed, there's still too many people who have to choose between their rent, food on the table, and their medicine. We can do better, and we need to do better. There's a lot more to it, a lot more to why I'm running for office. You can learn more about me and the issues I want to fight for at my website, godfreyforcongress.com. That's GODFREY for Congress.com. And I'll put a link in the chat if anyone else can see that. I'm not sure. But one big issue I want to mention before I move on to the next candidate is corruption. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, the corruption during the Trump administration is unprecedented. It's unlike anything I've seen in my entire lifetime. And my opponent has enabled it every step of the way. We can't afford in this district, in Ohio, in this country, to have to ask ourselves, what will the incumbent permit next? That's one reason I am running for office. Again, my name is Aaron Paul Godfrey. I'm asking for your vote on November 3rd. Early voting starts October 6th, so please get to the polls early. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Running for Medina County Sheriff, we have Terry Grice.
Thank you, Daniel. Although I'm running unopposed, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak tonight and introduce myself to the board. It's a pleasure working in Medina County, as I'm a lifelong resident of Medina County and a graduate from Medina High School. My wife, Cindy, and I have been married for 17 years, and we have two children, ages 14 and 10. I graduated the Police Academy in 1999 and have spent the last 21 years with the Montville Police Department. I was promoted to sergeant in 2003 and have been serving as Chief and Safety Director since 2011. I have a bachelor's degree in Criminal Justice Administration through Tiffin University. In addition, I graduated the Police Executive Leadership College and the FBI National Academy. I fully believe in trying to make a positive difference in the community by being active in various organizations. I'm currently the Executive Director of the Medina County Police Activities League, which is an after-school program for youth. That program is in 5 school districts throughout the county. I'm also the Program Director for the Take Control Teen Driving Program, which is a collaborative effort between Medina County Law Enforcement, Juvenile Court Judge Kevin Dunn, Medina County Career Center, Westfield Group, and 3 family foundations that have lost children as a result of motor vehicle accidents. I also serve on 4 other nonprofit boards throughout the county. I believe in honesty, professionalism, and collaboration. Law enforcement is just not a reactive profession. I believe in being proactive with a sense of customer service. As your next Medina County Sheriff, I will work with our residents, our businesses, and other government agencies to ensure Medina County remains a great place to live. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Running for the office of Medina County Recorder, Lori Henry.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lori Henry. I am running for Medina County Recorder. I live in Brunswick Hills Township, which is the northern part of Medina County. So Wadsworth, I'm new to you. I moved here in 1980, graduated from Brunswick High School. My first job was working for Bill Jack Foods for the Kellys, and I worked there for 9 years before I started my career in public service, working for the city of Medina in 1991. I worked in the finance department for 11 years, put myself through school. I obtained a bachelor's of business administration from Baldwin Wallace College. Raised my son as a single mom, helped put him through school. Very proud of him. He lives in Corpus Christi, Texas now. And so I've been working in the public industry since 1991 for the city of Medina, Buckeye Local School District. And then I worked for 13 years for Judge Dale Chase at Medina Municipal Court. I also served 8 years as the elected fiscal officer for my township. And I am running for this position because I found myself in a situation in the latter part of last year where I was looking for employment, and I wanted to come back to Medina County, and I am qualified for this position. And I encourage you to check out my website at electlorihenry.com. And I would respectfully and humbly ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Running for the office of County Prosecutor, Dean Holman. Dean, you'll just have to unmute there.
Is unmuted now? Okay, thank you. My name is Dean Holman. I want to thank the Wadsworth Library for holding this candidates forum. I'm running for prosecutor because I have a passion for justice. When I hear that a person has been victimized, I feel a call to action to go to court to seek justice for that victim. and justice for the community whose values were broken and laws were broken. I answered that call for 28 years, and I'd like the opportunity to answer the call for justice again. The prosecutor's office needs a leader in court. I led the office for 28 years. I tried the toughest cases. I tried death penalty cases. I started the Victims Assistance Program. I helped start drug courts. I helped start the Child Advocacy Center, which helps abused children. I was special prosecutor in 9 counties. I was named Prosecutor of the Year in 2011. We need to return to aggressive prosecution in the Medina County Prosecutor's Office. Our homes and our families deserve protection, yet 50% of burglary cases are plea bargained and reserved and reduced. We can do better than that. We need to return fiscal responsibility to the prosecutor's office. Under my opponent's administration, the budget of the Journal Division has increased close to $1.5 million in the last 4 years. The budget of the Child Support Division has more than doubled from $325,000 to $745,000. Under my opponent's administration, they have filed 607 less cases in an equivalent 3-year period than my office did. The prosecutor's office should be a beacon for justice. Justice is bipartisan. Justice is always a worthy goal. I have a record of achievements. I ask for your vote this fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Running for Medina County Commissioner, Bill Hudson.
Good evening, and thank you for having me tonight. I am Medina County Commissioner Bill Hudson, and I am seeking a second term as a county commissioner. One of the reasons why I ran for the office was to keep Medina County as a place of choice to live, work, and play. Laura and I moved here 27 years ago because we found Medina County very inviting. Great people, great schools, great parks, great recycling programs, and a tax base that was very reasonable. And as a commissioner, my efforts have been to keep it that way. I promised that I would bring a discipline to the planning process for the county. As commissioner, I led a facilities plan to identify all county facilities and the capital needed to sustain them over a 15-year time frame. We identified the courthouse as the most pressing facility and set about to plan a new one. I invited the city of Medina to participate as an important community partner. We are now on the verge of having plans for a combined municipal and county court. As a new commissioner, it became apparent to me that the county had not invested in automation. We were using an accounting system from 1992 and doing payroll on paper time cards and Excel spreadsheets. We have made inroads in the accounting area, the courts, and other areas to improve the automation and efficiencies of the government. From a professional standpoint, I worked for Westfield Insurance Company for 31 years and retired as an executive. I've been a practicing lawyer and law director for the Village of Westfield Center for the last 23 years. Have been on the Cloverleaf Board of Education, Medina County Port Authority, and currently president of Habitat for Humanity, and have served numerous other nonprofit organizations in the county. From a personal standpoint, my wife and I have been married for 37 years and live in Westfield Center. In closing, I ask for your support for a second term as County Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have running for the Office of Judge of Medina County Court of Common Pleas, General Division, Joyce Kimbler.
Joyce. I am your current judge in courtroom number 2 in the Medina County Court of Common Pleas. Prior to having that position, I worked as a trial attorney for over 20 Ohio, from municipal courts through the Court of Common Pleas, the appellate courts, and before the Ohio Supreme Court. I had 29 years of very broad and diverse experience. This helped me easily transition into the role of a Common Pleas Court judge, because a Common Pleas Court judge is your basic trial level judge, and that is where the majority of the cases are filed in the beginning of the court system. When I took over the position, people were wondering, well, what do you I think coming from a business background, what I began to look at was some of the and procedures that we had in place, because it's very important for the citizens of the county to have confidence and respect in their legal system, being able to efficiently handle their cases and not use up taxpayer resources unnecessarily. So we have put together a lot of best practices. We have a certified court manager. On the criminal side, winning Supreme Court recognized drug court program. Mr. Kell was removed from that program back in 2017 and replaced by Jocelyn Stefanson. So she has been our drug court defense attorney since 2000. Opportunity to continue to make all of the advances continuing to make over the last 6 years. And I ask for your vote on November the 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure if we might have had a connection problem there. And so I did give you a little bit of extra time there.
Thank you.
And I apologize about that. Next up, we have for the Office of Medina County Commissioner, Michael Kovac.
Hi, my name is Michael Kovac. I'm a candidate for Medina County Commissioner. A little bit about me. I'm a lifelong resident of Medina County. I graduated with honors from Medina Senior High School. I was a member of the Medina Musical Bees. I earned my Eagle Scout Award from Troop 501, and now I'm a teacher and a candidate. Growing up here really gave me the opportunity to get a variety of different perspectives, from a child growing up to a lifeguard at the local rec centers, to a student coming back from college, to a factory worker, and now a teacher and a candidate. I'm running for Medina County Commissioner because our current commissioners do not listen to us. They don't represent us. They don't answer questions from the public, and they don't make decisions at public meetings. For the past 6 months, I've been writing letters asking questions about how they're spending our taxes, how they're making their decisions, and when they're making their decisions. For the past 6 months, I've received no answers. The key to good government is transparency. If I'm elected, I promise that no citizen will have to wait 6 months just to know how we're spending their tax dollars. Because it's time for county commissioners to start practicing transparency. It's time for our commissioners to listen. That's why I'm asking for your vote this November. Thank you.
Thank you. And it was just pointed out to me, I must apologize, Mr. Hambly, I did skip you here. So please, running for the office of Medina County Commissioner, Steve Hambly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate the library putting this together, Daniel, as well as I thought maybe somehow the alphabet got screwed over tonight, given the conditions. But thank you. Yes, I'm running for the January 3rd seat of Medina County Commissioner. I'm 66 years old, lived almost the entire part of my life here in Medina County. I was 2 months old when my parents brought me here. I grew up here, went to school here, received my PhD and my college work outside, of course, the county, received my PhD at the University of Akron in history. I'm a retired college professor, but in the meantime, I was working full-time and going to school part-time to accomplish that. But as a retired college professor, I decided to retire and then go into the legislature. This is my 6th year in the Ohio House of Representatives. Prior to that, I was county commissioner for 18 years. I have an established record, and in tough times and good times. When I was commissioner, we were able to keep the debt budget burden low, the budget balanced, without increasing taxes. As a state representative, I've repeatedly lowered taxes for families and small business owners, protected our children, fought for our local public schools, of law enforcement. I'd like to take the experiences that I've gained this last 6 years in the Ohio House of Representatives and use that for the benefit of the county. I know the processes, the policies. I have the working relationships with the state associations and many of the people I serve with now, both in the House and the Senate, be able to take that with me should I be elected as county commissioner. I ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your understanding. Next up, we have for the office of Ohio Supreme Court Justice, John Odonnell.
Hi, I'm Judge John P. Odonnell for the Ohio Supreme Court. I first began serving on the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas in 2002. Since then, I have presided over thousands of civil and criminal lawsuits. I have handled everything from death penalty cases on the criminal side to multi-million-dollar civil lawsuits on the civil side. I have stared down murderers and rapists and given appropriate penalties where warranted. At the same time, I've shown mercy where deserved in criminal cases. In civil lawsuits, I was asked by the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court to preside over the business docket, and did so to good reviews in the legal community. This experience is unmatched for the Ohio Supreme Court and will inform my decisions on everything from criminal procedure to utility regulation to the common law to workers' rights, etc. I bet that you and I have something in common, though, and that is that nothing, and I mean nothing, is more important than our families. Now, a judge can never preside over a case involving his family, but when I'm on the Ohio Supreme Court, I will treat cases that affect your families just as if they have a direct effect on my family. I ask for your support for the Ohio Supreme Court beginning next week, but up to November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Running for Judge of Medina County Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile and Probate Division, Kimberly Oliver. Miss Oliver, are you on the line still? You might need to unmute your microphone.
Okay. Good evening. Here we go. Good evening. My name is Kimberly Oliver, and I am a candidate for juvenile probate court here in Medina County. I'd like to thank the Wadsworth Library and all the staff who put this event together, as well as the folks who have shown up here today. I'm a resident of Medina Township. I'm from a very large family, but I have an even larger family here in this community of neighbors and friends. For 30 years, my bench and bar experience has been, for 8 years, a magistrate in both Summit and Medina County, as a hearing officer for presiding over subsidized housing cases, and as a private attorney representing children, parents, elderly, and third parties in juvenile and probate courts. I'm very, very familiar with the programming that is available to families who come in either the juvenile or probate courts. I'm a member of the Medina County Bar Association and of the Ohio Association of Magistrates. I've been very active in this community, which I've come to claim as my own, through participation in community organizations such as the Medina Community Police Alumni Association, AAUW, Medina County Diversity Project. I'm a proud alumni of Leadership Medina 2019 and have served on several boards in this community. I'm therefore familiar with the services available to families in need. I'm experienced, accountable, and committed to protecting the welfare of children and other vulnerable populations. I respectfully solicit your vote for me as your next juvenile probate court. Kimberly Oliver, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Running for the House of Representatives, Ohio House of Representatives, 69th District, Sharon Ray.
Thank you, Daniel. Good evening. My name is Sharon Ray, and I'm running to be your next state representative from the 69th District. I am a Wadsworth High School and University of Akron graduate who has lived in this district for over 50 years. You probably know me best in my capacity as bailiff for Judge McIlvain at the Wadsworth Municipal Court, a post I have held at various times throughout my career. But I've done a few other things as well. I spent 11 years with Roadway Express at their corporate headquarters as an internal auditor in their revenue accounting department. I served 5 years as a Wadsworth City Councilwoman, served 2 terms as a Medina County Commissioner, and spent 6 years on the Medina County Board of Elections. I have also at various times been on the boards of the United Way of Medina County, the Wadsworth Salvation Army, the Medina County Red Cross, and the Community Partnership for the Arts and Culture. Some of the areas I'm passionate about include simplifying and promoting adoption and increasing our support to foster families. The opioid epidemic has resulted in many orphans that deserve a loving and stable family. Expanding and promoting vocational and technical education programs in our schools so we can graduate qualified, work-ready young adults. Supporting our district's needs during what will no doubt be a challenging budgetary environment. I was a county commissioner during the recession of 2008. Difficult decisions had to be made, decisions that have made me a resourceful and seasoned public servant. Partnerships with local government agencies to consolidate and collaborate resources will become increasingly important. I have the operational knowledge to help make these adjustments. I'm honored to have received the endorsements of the Ohio State Medical Association PAC, the Ohio Society of CPAs, National Federation of Independent Business, the Realtors, the Affiliated Construction Trades of Ohio, to name a few. I ask for your support so that I may represent you, the citizens of the 69th District, at the State House, the People's House. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, for the office of Medina County Recorder, Joe Salzgeber.
Good evening. My name is Joe Salzgeber, and I'm your Medina County Recorder. I was appointed in January 2019 to complete the unexpired term of the previous recorder, Colleen Swedick. My past experience includes serving as an assistant Medina County prosecutor for 7 years, then working as a real estate attorney in private practice, and also serving as a Brunswick City Councilman for over 4 years. The Recorder's Office is the County Land Title Office. We receive and record documents online, through the mail, and in person at our office. We have remained open throughout the COVID-19 pandemic as an essential government office under the Governor's emergency order. The land documents we record include deeds, mortgages, liens, releases, easements, right-of-ways, and other documents. We also record U.S. military veterans DD 214 discharge paperwork for free. We offer the following services to county residents as well. Property Fraud Alert Program, which is available for free online through our office. An online searchable land records. The Good Deeds Program, working with probate judge Kevin Dunn, we assist and encourage residents to obtain survivorship deeds as part of their estate planning. We also have a Veterans ID Card program, which allows veterans to obtain photo ID cards in person by making an appointment via telephone. I'm endorsed by the Medina County Republican Party, the Medina County Board of Realtors, and Buckeye Firearms, as well as both of my predecessors as recorder, Nancy Abbott and Colleen Swedick, and your Wadsworth Mayor, Robin Lawbaugh. This November 3rd, I respectfully ask for your vote to keep Joe Salzgeber as Medina County Recorder. For more information, please visit my website at keeprecorderjoe.com. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have now on the line running for Ohio Supreme Court Justice Jennifer Brunner.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And good evening, everyone. I'm Judge Jennifer Brunner from the 10th District Court of Appeals, currently running for the Ohio Supreme Court. To give you a quick rundown of my background, I have been on this court since November of 2014, elected in 2014 and re-elected in 2016. I've served 4 years as Ohio Secretary of State, the first and unfortunately only woman so far, but I know soon we'll change that. Served 5 years as a common pleas court judge in Franklin County, starting our adult felony drug court called the TIES program, which stands for Treatment is Essential to Success. I have 17 years of private practice experience, and I also hold experience working with the State Department through the USAID program, working in Serbia on rule of law, helping the misdemeanor judges improve confidence in their work, as well as the Anti-Corruption Agency in implementing a new form of campaign finance reform. I've observed 3 elections in the Arab Republic of Egypt and taught at the Bar Association in Sri Lanka. I love public service, and I have been married to my husband, Rick, who's from Columbiana County for 42 years, and we have 3 children who are married and 5 grandchildren, with the 6th one due on Monday. So I would respectfully ask for your consideration of my experience. I am running against an incumbent, but oftentimes it's very healthy for the system if we have the kind of balance that allows for a good health give and take. With redistricting and reapportionment happening next year, my experience will lend well to that process as we implement a new constitutional formula so that we can end gerrymandering in Ohio. I really appreciate your attention and the opportunity, and thank you to the library for putting on this event.
Thank you. Running for judge of the 9th District Court of Appeals, Julie Schaeffer. Ms. Schaeffer, are you on the line? Go ahead.
Thank you all for the opportunity to be with you tonight. I am, did it go? Happened. Am I still there? Okay. I'm going to switch. I am currently in my 6th year, and I am grateful for the privilege and honor to serve you. In my tenure as judge of the Court of Appeals, I've heard over 1,000 cases and been the author judge for more than 450 opinions. I've had the ultimate privilege of sitting as a visiting judge on the Ohio Supreme Court, as well as on the 5th and 6th District Courts of Appeals. My prior work history provides a great foundation to hear the kinds of cases that come before our court. The 5 judges, I'm the only one who's ever practiced in the areas of domestic relations, probate, and juvenile. My private practice took me to many counties in Ohio, from as far northwest as Fulton and as far southeast as Jefferson, and many of the counties in between. In short, I have extensive experience practicing law on a daily basis in most of the kinds of cases that we regularly hear in our court. Further, I'm the only one of the 5 judges that does not live in Summit County. In fact, I live in Wadsworth, and my young children attend Wadsworth City schools. I graduated from Medina High School in 1975, and I've dedicated over 20 years serving the communities on the front lines. I was elected to the Copley-Fairland City Schools Board of Education 4 times, serving 14 years. I was a licensed foster parent for Summit County for 15 years, caring for over 30 children and adopting 3. I was elected judge of the Akron Municipal Court in 2013, and I've heard misdemeanor, criminal, traffic, and civil cases, and I had the honor of performing marriages and presiding over criminal arraignments. I love and appreciate the honor of serving you as judge of the past 5 years, and I respectfully ask your vote again on November 3rd. For over 20 years, you're trusting me to protect your money, your children, your schools, and your rights. You're still safe with Schaeffer. Thank you.
Thank you. Also running for the judge of the 9th District Court of Appeals, Betty Sutton.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm Betty Sutton, and I will use the extensive experience I have to serve you and ensure fairness and justice on the 9th District Court of Appeals. As an attorney for nearly 30 years, thousands of families and workers across Medina County and the 9th District have trusted me to represent them through my work as a lawyer and a public servant. I'm uniquely prepared to bring important insight to this court. Having worked as a lawyer, a lawmaker, and executive has given me an exceptional understanding of the law, how it should be interpreted, and the importance of fairness and justice for everyone before the court. I grew up the youngest of 6. Dad was a Boilermaker. Mom worked at the library. They valued education, the rule of law, and giving back to our community. And because of them, I've dedicated myself to the law and service. I went to law school in Akron, where I was recognized for excellence in constitutional law. And while still in school, I was elected to the Barberton City Council. In addition to my work as an attorney, I served on the Summit County Council in the Ohio House and the United States Congress, where I learned to write the laws and oversee the courts. After that, I served as a presidential appointee leading the St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation, where I resolved many complex legal issues to keep the Seaway open and families working. As an attorney, I've worked on criminal and civil cases, fought for children, and represented firefighters, nurses, teachers, and other workers who were not always treated fairly. Those are the cases that I took on. I've represented people in countless hearings, mediations, negotiations, arbitrations, and in court. But I have never forgotten where I come from. And I know that our courts have profound impacts on our people and our communities. Fairness and justice belong to everyone, and I have the right experience and the integrity to make sure they will get it.
Thank you. Next up, running for Medina County Prosecutor, S. Forrest Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Sith. My name is Forrest Thompson. Since 2017, I have proudly served as your county prosecutor. I'm a veteran, and I'm an attorney who has been in Medina County as my chosen home for almost 26 years. When I ran in 2016, I said it was time for a change, and you, the community, agreed. I promised I would bring new ideas to the office, and I kept that promise. Time does not permit me to go through all of the necessary changes and things that we have to touch on a couple that I thought were most prominent. First and foremost, at the time when I took office, I was dealing with the opiate epidemic. It's still here. It has abated, but it is still here. I assigned a prosecutor to the court drug program so that that program could become certified at the state level. And along with with both common pleas judges, I advocated for accountability, but also as a first resort. I initiated litigation on behalf of the county against the opioid manufacturers, and those cases continue to be prosecuted at this time. And in dealing with child support, I created the Back on Track program to assist people in finding a way to avoid a felony for non-support. At the same time, I aggressively filed and prosecuted those cases. Between January of 17 and December of 19, I indicted 449 cases. Those 449 cases, 10% of them immediately, totaling over $440,000. Medina County is now a model for other counties, and they are asking us how we did it. I obtained new funding. I updated an archaic system. I brought a new file management system into the office. I brought in Wi-Fi. I had to bring in all of these things in order to bring the office to the top. I ask for your support on November the 3rd so that we can continue. Thank you.
Thank you. You had a little bit of a choppy reception there, so I did go over just a bit. Next up, running for Medina County Clerk of Courts, David B. Wadsworth.
Thank you, Daniel. Good evening. My name is Dave Wadsworth, your Medina County Clerk of Courts. I was appointed back in January of 2011, elected to a full term in 2012, and re-elected in 2016. I am running unopposed in 2020, but want to give you an update tonight. I am endorsed for re-election by the Medina County Republican Party and the Buckeye Firearms Association. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration and had 25 years of business management experience in the private sector before becoming the clerk. I have been married to my wife, Barb, for 34 years. We have 3 adult daughters in their 20s. I am a parishioner at St. Ambrose Church, a member of the Medina County Farm Bureau, the National Rifle Association Life Member, Leadership Medina County, and the Fraternal Order of Eagles. I founded the Clerk of Court Senior Walk. The clerk's office is the business office of the Common Pleas Court, and the clerk receives legal documents for filing, maintains court records, accounts for the costs, fines, and bond monies paid to the court, and helps it with and accepts U.S. passports. The clerk also operates the 3 auto title offices in Medina County and the county archives. I manage a total of 39 employees and have $2+ million annual budget. Our office processes over $50 million per year. In the past 4 years, as your clerk of courts, I have transferred over $2 million to the county general fund to help prevent tax increases or cuts in county services. I am currently working with the courts to implement a new case and jury management software. This November 3rd, I respectfully ask for your vote. Please keep Dave Wadsworth as your Medina County Clerk of Courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, running for the State Board of Education, 5th District, Lisa Woods.
Thank you, Daniel. Greetings. I am Lisa Woods, a mother of 5 children, and I am your State Board of Education member for District 5. Thank you for the invitation to speak today. I am on the board. I'm a voice that stands up for traditional education that has proven effective and creative this exceptional republic. We do need a return to basics and insert real proven curriculum that fosters a classic education to produce outstanding young Ohioans. I am working to restore the rights of parents and children to own their own education and not be told what to do, to embrace logic in education and to stand up for high quality and innovation. My passion is to change the terrible state report card and the various crooked weights and measures that truly do not reflect the value of public education. I have worked hard to make sure that the state report card reflects true learning, but the current report card does not and undermines confidence in our schools unfairly. I am still working on this as the General Assembly has to make the ultimate change, but I have confidence that someday, soon, my advocacy on your behalf will pay off. I am Lisa Woods. I am fighting the good fight, and I ask that you help me to continue to do so. Vote for me, spread the word. Thanks again for having me, and it is my honor to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Let's have a round of applause at home, and someone will somewhere record it and send it to the library, and I will put it on your voicemails. All right, so we're going to move to our next round here, which is just going through the questions. We have a lot of candidates tonight, as I've said, and we want to give everybody at least an opportunity to answer one question, and we have one particular seat that has more than 2 candidates. So we're going to start there with the county commissioners. And as we brought the questions in alphabetical order by last name, irrespective of office, for the first round, as we get into these questions to the offices, we're going to start in the reverse order with a last name. So the first question that we're going to bring up, which was the one that was asked the most frequently, and I'm going to paraphrase what several people asked for the county commissioners. And do you believe that Ohio or Medina County citizens should have a chance or should have had a chance to vote on the construction of the new complex? And so I am going to go ahead and we're going to start with first answer is going to come from Mr. Hambly. And Mr. Hambly, you will have 2 minutes to answer that, and you're welcome to cede your time if you do not need 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. And that is an excellent question. I think I did a article in the Helping Hands newsletter a number of months ago where I do a regular column talking about courthouses are always controversial. In fact, very few, whenever you build one in various counties historically, have there not been groups that have been opposed and so forth. Historically, they do get to vote on courthouses if there's the imposition of new taxes. That is, of course, when the voters are able to have the most influence when they decide to need new funding to funding of these courthouses. In this case, no new funding source is required. The county commissioners, as well as because of changes in the House, we've been able to provide more money to the county, are able to count on additional revenues over the next number of years to be able to afford to build a new courthouse, which has been needed for the last decade or two. Should they be able to vote? The law does not provide, there's no provision in the law for the people to vote up or down on the use of the powers of borrowing or spending, which are inherent in the application of the powers of county commissioners. And in this case, since they are not adding taxes, no vote is required. They are using the authority of their budget appropriations as well as borrowing to be able to do that and be able to afford a courthouse in the long term. Of course, the question comes down, can they afford what they're going to build? And that requires obviously experience, certainly experience and tough leadership and insightful as to how to do this project in the way that the county and future generations can afford to have this, plus the services needed by the county.
Thank you, Mr. Hambly. And I should mention that was a correction. I let you go first because I had missed you in the original order, just to be explicit about that. So next up, we'll have Michael Kovac.
The short answer is yes. No, I'm not muted. The short answer is yes. Citizens of Medina City already have the option to vote on their portion of this courthouse, so the municipal court isn't guaranteed to be part of this combined project. It's a disservice to the citizens of the county not to give them the same option. And just a little bit of a correction, according to County Administrator Scott Miller, The project will be mostly financed through bonds, 30 to 35-year bonds. So we do not have the money on hand to do this. In fact, we'll be paying it back through loans for the next 35 years. This is not, the people should have a say in how this money is being spent, because at the end of the day, it is the taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hudson.
Yes, thank you. First off, let me point out that the Medina County Courthouse, the 1840 section of the courthouse, is going to be preserved and has always been the plan of the commissioners to preserve it. The 1969 portion of the courthouse, the commissioners have decided to retain that part of the court. And so the entire courthouse as it exists today will be preserved, and we are going to add an addition onto the back. We have been planning this for over 2 years. We've held a number of public meetings. We have solicited public input, but ultimately it is the commissioners that has the statutory responsibility to provide facilities for all county functions. And it is not something that we have the statutory ability to put up for a vote. In the event that we needed to have money to fund debt service, then in that case, the debt service itself, or the levy that would be voted on, could be voted on by the people. But ultimately, they would not have a say-so in the building itself. And it's just like if you buy a house. You don't have $100,000 to put down cash on a house. You finance it over a period of time. And the county's method of financing is to issue bonds, and then those bonds are paid off. The debt service that is paid on an annual basis is going to come out of the general fund. And we have done financial forecasts that have demonstrated that the county has sufficient funds in the general fund to pay the debt service over the next 30 to 35 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conway. Michael, are you on the line still?
Okay, am I there? You hear me?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. One thing about the proposed courthouse is that in all the years I've had practicing law, almost 3 decades, and I've been in a lot of courthouses around the United States and almost, I would say, 2/3 of the counties in Ohio. This is the first proposed courthouse I've seen that doesn't have a law library built into the blueprints. And without that, you've got a due process violation. Okay, that new courthouse, the way it's designed with 2 major courtrooms, is under-designed. The population of this county is going to double in the next 10 years. These people are not thinking 10 years down the road. They're thinking about next Tuesday. And that courthouse needs 4 courtrooms, needs another common pleas judge. We also need muni court courtrooms where the judge's chambers and the breakout areas for lawyers are not the size of broom closets. That courthouse has to go back to the drawing board. And as far as whether or not it should be put to a vote, if the finance options require a vote, the people get one. It's just that simple. It's public money for a public building, should be reviewed by the public. But that courthouse right now is not going to work. And it's just basically making something fancy that's under-designed. And you can keep the old historic portions of that courthouse if you want to, but you've got to increase its functionality. It's not going to work the way it is. And I intend, if you vote me in, we will revisit this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move now to the Office of Medina County Common Pleas. This question will be directed to Mr. Callow and Ms. Kimbler. And we're going to start with, what is your position on plea agreements between the prosecutor and the defendant? And we will begin with this question with Mrs. Kimbler.
Well, plea agreements are an acceptable form of resolution of indictments. Presently, we have gone from approximately 750 indictments on January 1st, 2015 to close to 1,400 indictments a year last year. We were setting approximately 26 cases a week for trial. With that number of indictments, the system would shut down without plea agreements. What we have done in my courtroom is we have instituted written plea agreements, which means that there is a contract available that both parties have agreed to so that everybody knows exactly what the charge is, what the agreements have been, if there have been any promises made, and what everybody is expected to live up to on the area of plea agreements. So plea agreements as a form of resolution is a necessary part of the criminal justice system.
Thank you. Mr. Callow.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for the question. If I could be fairly brief in my response, the two people in the room who generally know the case the best are the two lawyers involved. You have very competent lawyers on the state side in the prosecutor's office and have been for years. You also have very competent defense lawyers who spend a lot of time in the case, learning the clients, learning the situations. And when those two parties, who probably know the case better than anybody in a courtroom, come to a reasonable, sound plea agreement, it should be very important to the judge to consider. If you elect me judge, I intend to give that respect. But the current judge, my opponent, has been the only judge I've ever run into in common pleas court that doesn't do that with the lawyers, and most of the time doesn't give them a heads up. It's very difficult to practice when you don't have that kind of consistency, and you're telling a young man you might or might not get the plea agreement you bargained for. So it's very different. But in this particular case, you see, it's difficult to trust the source of those plea agreements. It's difficult when you can't get into a courtroom and resolve the case with that. So it makes it difficult to practice law there when you don't have that consistency. I would like to bring that kind of consistency and respect to the courtroom. I think everybody, before making that plea agreement, should know whether or not that's a plea agreement that's going to hold or not. So I think that's very important. I think it's also very important that we get new leadership in the court, which is why I'm running. You see, after 34 years, you can say just about anything. You could even say that people are terminated from volunteer positions, which doesn't seem true. Let me tell you that in November 2019, just before declaring candidate, it was Judge Kimbler who came into the hallway and said, "Mike, we have a lot of serious cases today, and I need you in there for appointments." And I walked out of there getting half the appointments. It was an important moment because I remember I used to respect the judge a bit, and I said, wow, that was something for me because she came to the courtroom out in the hallway.
That'll be your time, Mr. Kell. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have a question for the Office of Medina County Prosecutor. What steps have you taken to be fiscally responsible within the Office of County Prosecutor? And because last time we began with Mr. Holman, this time we will begin with Mr. Thompson.
Yes, thank you. Well, first and foremost, we have to be aware that the Office of the Prosecutor had been underfunded and underutilized for decades. And so one of the first things that had to be done was to update the software system, update the file management system. We literally had a file management system that no longer functioned and was not serviceable. We had outdated computers. Everything was on paper. And so the necessity of bringing the office up to the 21st century started with bringing it out of the 19th century, which is where it had been. We carefully review the budget. We speak with the commissioners. We submit our proposals. We use all of the funds that are necessarily available to us as we can, and we stretch them as far as we can. But as has already been mentioned, the county population is growing, and has also been mentioned, we have doubled the indictments in the system, not because there is more crime, but because we chose not to cherry pick our cases. The reality is that the number of indictments are based on the number of police reports that are submitted, which are now done electronically, effortlessly, and once, as opposed to multiple hard copies having to be delivered by offices, police officers across the county. We indict what the facts support, and we're always willing to try whatever is indicted. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holman.
Contrary to what my opponent has said, the office was not underfunded and not outdated. You know, when I walked into that office in 1989, there wasn't a single computer. I sought a state grant. We got computers and we installed a network. We spent an average of $10,000 to $15,000 a year updating computers while I was in the office every year. And we had a functional office. You know, you don't pick a doctor who brags about his filing system. You don't go to a neurosurgeon when you want a competent doctor who talks about his filing system. You look for a competent doctor. And you don't elect a prosecutor who touts his filing system. We indicted cases. My last year there, I tried a death penalty case. You don't need a fancy filing system to do that. As I previously stated, my opponent's budget in the general division has increased close to $1.5 million in 3 years. His child support budget has gone from $325,000 to $745,000. In the same 3-year period, they do 607 cases less. He talked about his opioid litigation and his introduction. Well, he was late to the table. Cuyahoga County and Summit County have their money already. I have a record of achievements, as I've stated. My opponent has a record of sanctions, sanctioned in state court, sanctioned 3 times by the Ohio Supreme Court, concealing assets in bankruptcy court. And you compare that or tackle that or pair it rather with fiscal irresponsibility in the prosecutor's office, it is indeed time for a change.
Thank you. Moving on, we're going to go to the race for the Ohio House of Representatives, 69th District. And the first question, which came up numerous times, is what is your position on House Bill 6? And because we began with Donna B Height, we will begin with Sharon Ray.
Thank you, Daniel. I think that in light of all the controversy surrounding House Bill 6, they're going to have to repeal it. We have to repeal it, but we do have to find and develop a cohesive energy policy for the entire state of Ohio that encompasses solar, wind, gas, coal, and nuclear. So I'm looking forward to working on that. I do believe that the legislature will repeal 6 soon, and I look forward to working on the replacement bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Mrs. B Height.
Hi. Yes, we do need to repeal House Bill 6. It was definitely a bill that I would have never put my name on to begin with, because it was a bailout, right? And the team householder made sure that it was a bailout for House Bill 6. And we need to break that cycle of corruption at the State House. And by repealing the House Bill 6, getting Representative Householder out of office is a good start to break that cycle of corruption at the State House. We do need to invest in our renewable energy production here in this state. We need to invest in solar and wind, and we need to do all the above, right? To make sure that we as Ohioans are leading in that production of that energy source. We have the technology right here in Ohio. We have the manpower. We have the ability to do it right here in this state and to be a leader in it right here in this state. And that's what I'll work on at the State House when I get there, is not only just repealing this bad bill, but working on the future for renewable energy for Ohio. It is so important to do for our economy, and it is just it's a passion of mine to make sure that we do this and do it right. And thank you.
Thank you. I apologize if you can hear the hushing sound of the rain. There's a roof right above me, and it's really coming down right now. This was the quietest corner in a modern library where I could be with this live stream, so thank you. So we're going to move on now to the State Board of Education 5th District. The question is, what do you see as the biggest issues facing educators today? And because we began with Ms. Collins, we will begin with Ms. Woods.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Well, there's several. What I hear the most from parents is the testing. I think the testing is very intrusive. There's too much of it. There's ways that we could reduce that and put it in smaller increments. There's a lot of changes we can do to testing. The state report card, as I said earlier, is a very big problem. And even more recently, there's a big discussion on racism and implicit bias. And I'm really sad that that has kind of overpowered our ability to get to the issues that we've been working on so hard, like the state report card, and it's dominated the conversation. And kids are struggling in Ohio in many different areas, and I just pray that we're able to get back to the work that we were doing before this virus. A lot of things have changed since we've been doing our meetings on WebEx. And then, of course, there's a conversation on standards as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Collins.
I think a lot of the issues in education right now really come down to the inequities in funding. Unfortunately, as many people know, the funding system in Ohio has been determined to be unconstitutional since the 90s, and hopefully we start to see some movement on what's happening currently with legislation. But that inequity in funding is really causing a lot of problems. The standardized tests, those are showing us, the longitudinal data on standardized tests tell us that it's a marker of poverty and not a marker of academic achievement. So when we see those standardized test scores coming in, what we are seeing is the poverty in that local community. And what we really need to work on is making sure that our schools have equitable funding so they can provide the wraparound services that are necessary in those communities so that our teachers can do the job of teaching. We're asking them to be teachers and counselors and to feed kids, and now they're also cleaning the classrooms and worrying about helping with the pandemic. So we're asking a lot of our teachers, and we're not providing the adequate and appropriate funding that our schools need so that our students are getting the supports they need. And all of that kind of wraps around to the evaluation system. I believe you had asked what are the biggest issues impacting educators right now. The evaluation system is kind of a mess and has been for quite a few years, ever since we started tying standardized test scores to teacher evaluations. So what we really need to do is we need to separate out standardized tests from our teacher performance. We need to give teachers the kudos that they deserve for the work that they're doing, because we are asking so much of them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to move to questions for the 9th District Court of Appeals. What is your opinion on limiting the protections provided police agencies through ORC 2744 and sovereign immunity? And we are going to begin with Ms. Sutton.
Thank you, Daniel. I believe that we are at a time, obviously, that we have a role to play as judges or those who seek to be judges or attorneys to work to increase the public trust. The legislation and the revised code that you mentioned are things that, of course, fall into the domain of the legislature and not of a judge. I do want to, so that's where that would be dealt with. But I do want to just say this, that my opponent earlier said, "You're safer with Schaeffer." But I'm not really sure what the basis of that statement is. Of course, it rhymes, safer and Schaeffer. I know that that is a slogan. But as somebody who's running for judge, I would submit some evidence to the contrary. I have been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, along with the Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters, safety forces who do safeguard the families of Wadsworth and others throughout the 9th District. So I'm not really sure, and of course the FOP endorsement is one that my opponent sought to get, but they chose to endorse me. So I would submit, based on that evidence, you don't have to take my word for it, that you are safer with Sutton. And with respect to legislating, I will leave that to the legislature, and I will leave it to the court, if I am ever so honored to serve, to interpret the law and apply it as written.
Thank you. Ms. Schaeffer.
Thank you. Of course, as judge of the 9th District Court of Appeals, my job is to review what the trial court sends up to us. So I would be reviewing whatever opinions come up from the trial court. And of course, I will enforce whatever law the legislature determines based on what the assignments of error are that are brought to us by trial attorneys. Ms. Sutton mentioned my safer with Schaeffer model. Well, you're safer because the residents of Copley Schools, of which you are a resident, Ms. Sutton, have trusted me for over 14 years to enforce education for 3,300 students every single year for 14 years. A $35 million budget. We enhanced, we expanded 4 of our elementary school buildings during that time. I was a foster parent for 15 years, so you trusted me to protect your children, the most vulnerable children in our community. I fostered over 30 children, adopted 3. As a single parent, by the way. I do have a 35-year-old daughter that I raised 37 as a single parent. She's an attorney and practices in Wheeling, West Virginia. As far as Ms. Sutton, the police union, well, she was forced by the police because she represents police and fire unions in mediation and arbitration, and her husband does as well. That's what she does for a living, if she does it at all, because I have an article from the Cleveland Columbus Dispatch that says that she holds a law degree but doesn't practice law. So the question is, what relevant law do you really have, Ms. Sutton, that is relevant to what we do in our courtroom? Probate, juvenile, dependency, neglect cases, domestic relations cases, misdemeanors, criminal cases. These are things that we do in the court system, not in the alternative dispute resolution system. That's why you're safer with Schaeffer.
Okay, thank you. Now we are going to move on to the office of Medina County Recorder. And actually, I'm sorry, we're going to move down to the U.S. Congress 16th District. We're going to continue on with the contested seats. And so, Mr. Godfrey.
What was the question?
I apologize. You stare at a screen all day long and then you stare at many screens smiling at you. Okay. Bear with me one moment. I paid into Medicare and Social Security. What will you do to protect these programs?
Everything I can, and I work to expand them as much as I can too. And this is a critical issue for me. And I'll go back to the story about my dad, because eventually he was put on disability and eventually he got put on Medicare, but it was too little and too late. While Medicare helped his health rebound, it was, like I said, too little, too late. And a service like that is so critical to the well-being of the people in this country. And people like my incumbent and the Republican Party in general want to tear it apart. You wonder why Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, doesn't do better. It essentially comes down to the opposition party tears it apart so they can weaken it as much as possible to make the case against it. That's wrong. The government, in my view, should be working to help the people, to support them, and to provide them the services they need to live a better life and secure the opportunities they need to make it happen. Medicare and Medicaid will be fully funded if I have anything to do with it. They'll be expanded so more people can enroll in them, especially in the middle of the pandemic, where in July alone we lost 5.5 million people were kicked off their employer-sponsored health care in the middle of the pandemic with nowhere else to go. And at least in my experience, COBRA is unaffordable. So especially if you just lost your job. So it's kind of like, where else do you go? The government should be able to step in. You will be covered. You will be cared for. In the middle of this pandemic, we are not going to let you fall behind. And if I'm elected to this seat, I'll do everything I can to protect the people of this district, to provide them with the health care they need and other services that will help them lead a better, stronger, fuller life across the 16th district. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are going to move on to the Office of Medina County Recorder. And that question is the Medina County Recorder a full-time position? And do you intend to continue other employment during traditional business hours while serving as the Medina County Recorder? And to note, this is a contested election. We're a little bit out of sorts here. I apologize for that. And because we began with Ms. Henry the first time, this time we will begin with Mr. Salzgeber.
Yes, it is a full-time position, and I'm a full-time county recorder. I'm an attorney as well, and I limit myself to evenings and weekends. And if I do have to go to court, I take a day off or half a day off. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Henry.
Thank you. Yes, I currently work full-time for Cleveland Municipal Court, and I will, when elected, I will serve as a full-time county recorder and will not have any other job. And I just wanted to say that with the experience that I've had working for the Medina Municipal Court and the Cleveland Municipal Court, and as the fiscal officer, my experience with record keeping and bookkeeping and budgeting, I think far exceeds my opponents. So, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for Mr. Grice for the Office of Medina County Sheriff. What training is provided to Medina County Sheriff's officers related to diversity, cultural awareness, and racial justice during law enforcement contacts?
Thank you, Daniel, for that question. I certainly can't speak to what the training that they currently go through because I'm not in the office. I also know that training budget, I'm going to put a request with the commissioners, work with the commissioners that we increase that. Currently, it's $15,000 for the deputies, and I think that needs to be increased. Regarding those specific trainings, I think they're all very valuable, especially in today's world. We see that law enforcement needs to be treated as a professional industry, and those trainings certainly can help the entire industry and certainly the Medina County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you. All right. We are going to return to the race for the Office of Medina County Commissioner. And the next question here is, what is your position on establishing a county homeless shelter? Now, last time we began with the reverse order, and now we're going to go back to the beginning of the alphabet here, and that will go to Mr. Conway. You may be muted, Mr. Conway.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. You know, any time society has poverty, and as Robert Kennedy said, they're at a time of plenty, poverty is evil. And when you do not take care of the situation where you have homeless people in your county, and Medina has about a 6% poverty rate, you're inviting all kinds of problems. The question is it better to put people into some sort of housing temporarily so they can get back on their feet again, or to spend more money on law enforcement and programs that are expensive to deal with perhaps the criminal problems that you get when someone has to steal to stay alive? It's a complicated question, but if there is a need, and the tax dollars are there, I personally don't have a problem with it. I really think that it's better to save money in fighting a problem at the beginning of the problem than wait till it festers and gets out of control and then just start throwing money at it, hoping it works out. So my position is I would be, welcome to hear of that. If someone wants to speak to the commissioners about it after I'm elected, certainly we'll entertain what they have to say. I believe in transparency in government, and I believe that everybody should have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hambly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the question. Actually, when I was formerly a commissioner, I was the founding chairman of our housing network, which brought together various entities, Medina Creative Housing, as well as the Adam Board, Metro Housing, nonprofits, our operations home. And I was also likewise the chairman of the United Way of Medina County. We took a look at housing at that point in time, looking at a homeless shelter. At that point in time, when we're doing a strategic plan, we decided, rather than as we looked at other counties, we decided that we weren't going to move forward building or establishing a homeless shelter, because the first and foremost, you do prevention. Secondly, you try to work with people in a case management system and get them into housing and work with them as individuals rather than having a building or an institution that requires a lot of funding. I would entertain that we should be taking a look at that again, but it means working cooperatively, not just with other entities of government, but also nonprofits, religious community, and so forth. We have some great nonprofits and religious organizations out there that do work with individuals that have lost their homes or that in danger of losing their homes, and work with them to kind of bring them back, provide them with the support. It really is not only about providing a house, but it's also helping with the job training, the supports, maybe in some cases it's substance abuse, some family counseling. All those things can be accomplished now that we have a human services levy. And I certainly would like the idea that we come together and evaluate looking at it again after nearly a decade since the last time we looked at it.
Thank you. Mr. Hudson.
Yes, Daniel, thank you for the question. Every year, the Housing Network does a survey of homeless people in the county. And over the last couple of years, there have been somewhere between 10 and 20 homeless people counted in each of those censuses. So this is not an extensive problem in Medina County. As Representative Hambly mentioned, there are a number of organizations that help out with homeless folks. And a lot of the issue with homeless folks are mental health issues. And we have programs through Alternative Paths and others to provide mental health services to individuals with those types of issues. So, if I certainly would be open to discussions around the topic if there were issues. But at this point in time, I'm not aware that there is a significant homeless population in Medina County that would justify creating a separate facility for them. I'd also point out that the Medina County Home is a resident facility. We have anywhere from 45 to about 53 folks there at any given time who are all disadvantaged people. And so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kovac.
Thank you for the question. If the need and the funds are there, absolutely. Like Mr. Conway was saying, it's a really good spot to let people get back on their feet and to start reintegrating with the community. A community works best when you're helping those that are struggling the most. So again, if the need and the money is there, absolutely.
All right, great. What I'd like to do is just take a really brief break here. If we can just take 5 minutes, I'd like to return to the forms, see what other additional questions we've had, and go back over our list, make sure that we've given every office an opportunity to answer one, and we'll proceed from there. So we'll be back at 7:36. It's 7:31 right now. You can go ahead and turn your camera off if you would like.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to give her a nice thing. I was going to give her a nice comment.
Okay, 7:36, so we'll call our forum back to order. And this next question is going to go to the candidates for the Medina County Juvenile Probate Judge position. What is your philosophy on handling juvenile cases in court and over the course of their involvement in court? And we're going to go here in the reverse order. And we'll start with Ms. Oliver. You'll just need to unmute your microphone, ma'am.
Thank you, Daniel. My philosophy on handling juveniles in court would be based upon the type of case that comes in. As you know, in juvenile court, you have the juvenile delinquencies as well as the dependent, neglected, or abused children, along with truancy and traffic case. So I think the way you handle a case would be case specific and issue specific. But underneath it all, you're dealing with juveniles. If they appear in court, they're usually having other problems in home or in school. So my approach would be to come in with that. How can I best help this young person be better, do better, and become a part of the community? In doing that, I would work with the community organizations and develop case plans with the Job and Family Services after review of theirs, to determine what service is best suited for that particular child according to the issue.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn.
Thank you. Currently, our court diverts, kids don't get to court on first offense traffic matters, to approximately 1,000 cases don't show up to our court on an annual basis. We track those cases. We have a system to do that. And their parents and the children are pulled out of school, don't have to come to the court and sit in the hallway to deal with going through a stop sign or something simple like that. We divert that through teaching kids how to drive correctly. We have other programs for that. Dependent, neglected, abused kids, every one of those cases I see. We address those issues. Job and Family Services presents a case plan of services. I have to review that case plan to determine whether it's sufficient or not. We work with so many collaborative agencies. We have multi-systemic treatments, which is mental health, also treatment for substance abuse. We try to look at each child individually. When I came on board, I implemented an intake position, so we could screen these cases before they got to court to find out, hey, are these parents divorced? What's going on in the household? How can we start implementing things to reunify these children back to our community and make them good, wholesome citizens? My idea of having kids to court, I'll tell you, these Zoom things are really great. They're really nice and convenient for this kind of stuff. Come to court and don't come in your pajamas. Don't sit in your basement and show to court, and it shows what court should be. You are being brought here because your community expects better out of you. And we expect to get that from them by holding kids accountable. And our position is we'd like to handle as many cases as we possibly can. However, the conditions right now require us to do a bunch of these via Zoom and other means. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is going to the Medina County prosecutor race. This question is, how can prosecutor's office, I apologize. How can the prosecutor's office help to effectuate change in the area of police misconduct matters? And this question, this time, since we're on our second one, we will begin with Mr. Holman.
Well, as I did as a county prosecutor, you can help police officers by putting on training in the areas of search and seizure, arrest, search and seizure, proper use of force, how to avoid the use of excessive force. We put that training on for years while I was a county prosecutor. You know, as a young assistant prosecutor in Medina County, I defended sheriff deputies who were accused of using excessive force in civil lawsuits in federal court and state court. So I think the vast majority, 99.9% of law enforcement people are good, honest people who want to do their job correctly. And they wake up every day, they put that uniform on. They don't know if they're coming home that night. Their loved ones don't know. They work to keep us all safe. So I think it's important to give them the tools to do their job, the training to do their job. And I did that while I was county prosecutor.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Well, I actually agree with my opponent on one aspect, and we have also done extensive training with law enforcement and also had training seminars on issues that arise on it's sort of a short notice when a new issue has arisen. We have conducted that training, and we've done it on a routine fashion. That's why I'm endorsed by both the FOP 204 and the FOP 15, which is the two most pervasive and largest fraternal police organizations in the county. Law enforcement trusts what my office is producing, and law enforcement has confidence in our abilities. I've also, and had never been done in Medina County, I created a new protocol on use of force and excessive force, and particularly in police-involved shootings. And we have now had to apply that protocol on 3 separate occasions. That was a standardized model that coincidentally the Attorney General mirrored, and I say coincidentally because they didn't rely on my protocol, but when theirs came out, it was very close and mirrored what I was already asking to have done. So training absolutely is critical. Discretion absolutely is critical. But we also have to remember law enforcement has to make those split-second decisions. And that decision has to be made from the officer's point of view, not the armchair experts that sit back and watch them after the fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is going to go to the candidates for the Ohio House of Representatives 69th District. That question is, the Ohio Supreme Court declared the state school funding system unconstitutional for the 3rd time in 11 years this past June. What is your position on this issue, and how would you change funding? This is our second question, so we're going to go back to the beginning of the alphabet, and we'll begin with Mrs. B Height.
Hi. Yes, so it's been unconstitutional for over 25 years. We need to do a variety of things. One, we've got to roll back EdChoice and the EdChoice program. We've got to stop funding private schools. We've got to start putting the money back into our public education. We've got to stop testing we've got to stop the standardized testing. It's wrong to take the schools and they're apples and oranges, right? So you've got the rural schools, you've got inner city schools, and they're being compared to the same. They're being compared as apples and apples, and they're apples and oranges. Each have their own individual problems with funding and with equity in the school systems, and so we need to address it as a collective, right? It needs to be rolled back. For private funding needs to go away. We need to work on rolling back or getting rid of the standardized testing altogether. And if we're going to look at schools and grade them, then we need to look at them individually and grade them for what they're doing right. Help them for what they're doing wrong. Don't take apples and oranges and try to compare these school districts, because it's just not going to work out that way. We need to get it the funding off the back of the property owners as well. So here in Medina County, we have the capital expenditure, the small sales tax that we pay, but we're the only county in the entire state. So our schools are not falling apart. Our books are not falling apart, right? But we need to address this funding. We need to get people to the State House such as myself, who want to take on this issue and fix this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Good timing there. Okay. So the next question.
Hey, Daniel. Hey.
Yes, please.
I got some thoughts on what.
Oh, yes, of course you do. I apologize, Sharon. Go ahead.
I thank you so much. And Donna, I'm so glad you talked about the countywide school sales tax because Commissioner Hambly and I actually voted to put that on the ballot so the citizens of Medina County could make a determination of how best they wanted to fund their schools. And overwhelmingly, that issue passed. And I think you're absolutely correct. We have to look at some different funding issues when it comes to the school. The Cupp-Patterson bill, which is House Bill 305, I believe that's what you're talking about, does satisfy many of the requirements. The problem is going to be, and the problem is always going to be, funding. The Cupp-Patterson bill, which is bipartisan in nature, is going to require a $1.1 billion funding increase. That's got to be a dedicated revenue source. So there is much work that needs to be done on that bill. I know there'll be a lot of discussions going on in lame duck, and we'll be watching it closely. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Again, apologize about that. All right, the next question is again to the Office of Medina County Commissioner. That question is, what specifically will the county commissioners do for Wadsworth to promote job growth and bring in new business? This is our third question, so we're going back to the reverse order here, and that will begin with Mr. Hudson.
Thank you, Daniel. That's an excellent question. Just recently, in the last 30 days or so, the county commissioners received money that came through the state from the federal government, and we created a small business grant program. And over the course of the last 10 days, I have been driving around the county delivering checks to small businesses to assist them with COVID-related expenses and to keep their businesses afloat. I have had so many people that have been in tears because we have provided this type of program to small business in the county. On a longer term basis, we fund Medina County Economic Development, who works very closely with the Wadsworth Economic Development to foster businesses of all sizes, of all types throughout the county and in Wadsworth. So we have an extensive program. The Port Authority funds businesses and can provide them with certain tax relief benefits, also provide them with funding through alternative sources when they would not be able to secure it from sources that they might not qualify on their own. So the county has extensive economic development programs, and we support businesses in Wadsworth and throughout the county. Thank you.
Thank you. And skipping back a bit here, Mr. Kovac.
Thank you. Honestly, I think Wadsworth should be telling us what you want to do. For the past 10 years, Wadsworth has been the fastest growing city in the county. It's one of the top 3 fastest growing cities in the state. Your economic development plan provides great incentives for businesses. You're working with the Port Authority. What you're doing is working. So tell us what you need, and that's what I want to help you with. Wadsworth, you're doing a great job. Tell us how we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hambly.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Hudson is absolutely correct. Medina County Economic Corporation has been one of the best investments and partnerships of Medina County government with our local governments as well as the business communities and our schools. Certainly Wadsworth has a different characteristic because in their vocational training, they have the 4-city compact that they are involved with that goes outside the county, but has been a ideal partner with Medina County Economic Development Corporation and the county commissioners. So I absolutely agree with the other previous candidates. What we've been doing actually has been working. We've got good jobs, we've got good education, we have a good business environment, and we have an organization where everybody has a seat and everybody gets to partake in making the decisions and identify the strategies that work for them. And so indeed, it requires, I think, not only recognizing the benefits, but also continuing to fund that organization to provide not only the funding necessary to bring the parties together, take a look at specific initiatives, specifically look at job training, look at the economic incentive programs that are out there in terms of tax abatements, as well as the other assistance that occur, our Medina County Economic Development with the Port Authority, as well as our fiber optic, and how it all melds and works together to help provide for that good environment for jobs, education, as well as the business environment. And it's one of cooperation, and that is probably one of the best venues we have had to make that happen. And certainly as a county commissioner, as I have in the past, would continue to provide the funding needed to make sure that that continues to happen.
Thank you. Mr. Conway.
Thank you. You know, the one thing I keep hearing over and over again when it comes to economic growth and jobs is, you know, during hard times, let's give people loans, let's give them grants. And that may be, in fact, necessary right now, given the COVID crisis. However, the COVID crisis is going to be managed. Eventually, it may not go away, but it's going to be managed where people can have some sort of normalcy. When that happens, businesses need opportunity. Now, I want to underscore that. It's opportunity. If you don't develop new markets, and you don't bring in new jobs and technology, you're just on a treadmill. Look at Wadsworth Air Park. I'm a pilot. I look at that runway. You could land corporate jets there, okay? I mean, look at the farming community in Medina County in general. I mean, what do farmers say? They don't say, you know, give us another loan. They say, give us a good price in a new market. People want to think about the future. They want to invest. That's why I want to put together an economic team. We got great universities in Ohio, from Ohio State, University of Akron, Cleveland State, Worcester College, whatever. We got these brilliant minds. Let's put together a team. I can lead that team to get investors. We're on the edge of the Toronto, Cleveland, Chicago megalopolis with a GDP as big as Japan's. And what are they talking about? Let's build another Taco Bell down the road. Okay, that thinking's got to go away. We've got to think big. We need big technology. We need research facilities. Okay, we got the kids with the education. They want to go to California, like all high schoolers do. When they're down to California, tell them to come back to Medina County, to Wadsworth. Invest here. This is the place to make a home. This is the place to spend your money. This is a place to invest in a business. And as a business leader, as a county commissioner, I intend to get a team together of business leaders and bright minds.
That will be your time, Mr. Conway. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're closing in on 8 p.m. and we do want to have a final closing statement from each candidate. And in order to do that, I'm going to have one last question here that will just go to those running for Medina County Common Pleas Judge and Juvenile Probate Judge. It's the same question. I'm sure you can well guess what it is. What is your position on the construction of the new courthouse? Do you believe it's justified, and why? And we're just gonna start in reverse order here, and we'll go with Miss Oliver first. Oh, and you'll have to unmute your mic there.
With regards to the courthouse, as a jurist hearing cases before the court, my personal preference is that the courthouse be safe and functional. Other than that, I believe that the county commissioners and or the voters are best suited to determine how to spend public monies or funds. I just need a place where I can administer justice and justice for all, and I'm not going to weigh in on this new building of a courthouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn.
Yes, our current facilities are well out of date. When I moved into my court room, my chambers, I had one electrical outlet, one. And it was in the center of my office on the floor. The building wouldn't meet the basic business code or basic building code, and that's the newer portion of the building. The courtrooms are too small. They're incapable of accommodating things.
We are due and well overdue to replace our county court buildings. This is an area that has been overlooked and now has been brought to the attention. We have the funds available to do it and to do it right. This is necessary to protect the public. We can't cut loose and give you the Supreme Court's report on the security issues with our building because I'll just indicate to you they're glaring. Come to the court, walk through it, check it out, see what our purposes are. And it won't take long for people to understand that, yes, it's an absolute necessity. We don't have the building wired for numerous types of things, including Wi-Fi. We've had to install those things independently. We don't have items that are typical in new construction. Massive fire matters like suppression isn't there. We also have security issues, bulletproof glass. The Supreme Court would come in and is going to supervise our construction in a sense to ensure that it will be done correct, that the public will be safe and the occupants of the building will be safe as well too. For those reasons, it's necessary to go forward and build a new courthouse building. And I think we're well on our way to getting that accomplished, and the plans seem sound and good for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Kimbler.
As the administrative judge, I ordered the Supreme Court assessment of the courthouse safety. The Supreme Court did come in. They did a health and safety inspection of the courthouse. That information was provided to the architects, and they have been working with it to incorporate it into the new plans. I believe that that is the role of the judge, is to provide the necessary information to the commissioners and to the architects so that decisions can be made that are evidence-based and fact-based.
Thank you. Mr. Kell.
Thank you for the question. As the lawyer in the room who's represented clients in probably every courtroom in that client, I might be the only one who could say that. And I've represented clients in front of almost every judge who's appearing here and both prosecutors who are trying to run for that job. I can tell you that the office space we have now in the courthouse is antiquated in almost every way. When you go to domestic court, I've shown up for trials there and the roof is leaking. And we've had clients ask about the carpet being 20 years old. We've gone into the courtrooms of both of the civil courtrooms, and there's not enough space for people to attend call day. I've been in the private chambers of almost every judge, and they're tiny and antiquated, and it's hard to have meetings there. So we need a new courthouse. I grew up in a mindset that the courthouse is the best building in town. It's the town building you respect the most. It's the town building that you want to walk through the front door and feel like you're in a place where there's honesty and decency and fairness and respect for all people. And the current situation, we don't even walk in the front door anymore. We walk through the back. And everybody, and a lot of my clients and everybody I talk to ask the same questions. Why do you walk in a basement? Quite frankly, as a lawyer who's been there for 24 years, it's a bit overdone. So we need to build a new courthouse. Now, I can't comment on how to build it. That's not my job. And how to fund it, that's not my job. But I can tell you, as the guy who's been in every one of those rooms, that we do need a new courthouse. It should be the pride of our town. It should be the pride of our town square. It should be a place that we all can go in and get business done. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did misspeak. We do have a question for our candidates for the Ohio Supreme Court Justice seat. And that question is, what role does the Ohio Supreme Court play in the redistricting processes voters approved in 2015 and 2018? And we are going to begin in reverse order with Mr. Odonnell.
I think he had to leave the call, Dan.
Okay, why don't you go ahead, Jennifer?
Okay, thank you. This is Judge Jennifer Brunner, a candidate for the Ohio Supreme Court, currently serving in the 10th District Court of Appeals. These amendments that were adopted in the state constitution are formulaic, and they were designed to make districts more compact, and the competitiveness occurs when the legislature comes together, whether it be in the members of the Congress or members of the state legislature, and it creates a commonality of interest based more in a community. The districts now, if you look at Northern Ohio, Marcy Kapper's district goes from Toledo all the way across to Cleveland. Jim Jordan's district is kind of a duck-shaped district. Steve Cyber's district goes from Columbus all the way to Athens County. So the Supreme Court does not draw the maps. The Supreme Court, though, because of a U.S. Supreme Court decision saying that federal courts do not get involved in state gerrymandering issues, the state court would review any challenges to those maps. And the role of the court would be to review them for their faithfulness to the language of the state constitution. And hopefully the legislature will get it right. But if not, the court stands there ready to ensure that the will of the people as expressed through their constitutional amendment is given effect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience in that question coming. All right. It is now 8 p.m. and we're going to move into our final round here. Again, with so many candidates, we really need to save the time for you all to have an opportunity to give a closing statement. So we're going to move in reverse order from the back of the alphabet this time. And please give us your closing statement in 2 minutes, and we'll be watching the time here. And we will start with Ms. Woods.
Thank you again. I just wanted to say that I agree that funding schools has been a mess here in Ohio. But again, the General Assembly has to make that change. The board does not have been given that authority. We face a lot of problems in Ohio with our education. Again, our state testing is intrusive and causes problems for just about everyone I know. As far as the different people that I talk to every week, from superintendents to parents to the families of the students, I feel that I have been the voice for mainly the parents and students as well, but everybody that's involved in education. And I try to take the issues that we can actually deal with and have the authority to deal with for our students, and make sure that our parents have the authority to make those choices for their children as well. And it's been my honor to serve on the State Board of Education. I take it very seriously, very passionately. I listen to all sides. I really want to make sure that we make a difference for all children in Ohio, from the inner city to the kids in the country and everything in between. And again, thank you. My name is Lisa Woods, and I thank you for this time. And thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Collins.
Oh, I thought we were going in reverse alphabetical order, but I am ready. Here we go.
I apologize. I'm going on the wrong list. I thought that we could use automation to make this the most efficient staffing operation for the candidates forum ever. And I succeeded in demonstrating my own limits. Okay. So we will then go to Mr. Wadsworth, if you're still on the line.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Okay, good. I just wanted to take a moment and thank the voters out there for the opportunity to be your county clerk of courts. It's a position which I really enjoy doing. I work with 39 really dedicated employees that are knowledgeable, understand their jobs. I get compliments on them all the time. So the auto title and the archives and the common police offices are all trying to do their best for the public. We've managed to stay open in the auto title and the legal offices throughout the pandemic. We've installed the plexiglass and everything, and it's working out very well. None of us has gotten sick, and nobody from the public has gotten sick from us that I know of. And we are always working to upgrade and try to do a more professional customer service job for you, and that's why we're installing state-of-the-art case management and jury management software so that you, the public, can be able to contact the courts and the clerk easily and remain in contact. I want to thank you once again. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I think it's imperative to point out at the outset that while there is a common belief that the prosecutor's office handles criminal cases, and that's what it's best known for, I think it's critically important to point out that the Medina County Prosecutor's Office represents not only the prosecution of criminal cases, but a civil division that handles 17 townships. Every single elected official, every political subdivision, we serve as legal counsel for those individuals. That takes an inordinate amount of time and focus. Our technology has allowed us to be able to advance the time of response for all of those aspects, as well as the criminal aspects, into virtual real time. And in addition to that, we also have a wonderful victims advocates and victims assistance program. And these individuals use that to be able to communicate with the victims of crimes in real time and get them better information faster. We also have a juvenile court division. That juvenile court division deals with all of those juvenile cases that Judge Dunn referenced earlier. So it is a wide umbrella. It's a spectrum of a number of offices, all supervised by the county prosecutor. So it is far more than just standing up in court, even though I've done that, and I have done it, and I will continue to do it. But it is far more than doing the archaic. The county prosecutor is also the one that handles all the criminal trials. So I think going forward, that's our goal, looking to the future. And that's why I believe we're in the best position to move in that direction. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your support.
Thank you. Ms. Sutton.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I am very grateful for having the chance to speak to the public that I seek to serve. Before I wrap up, I would just like to address a couple of things. I want to first commend my opponent for all of the work that she has done to care for and take on behalf of children as a parent and a foster parent. That is important work, and I too have many children in my life, although they are not children of my own. I'm a grandma, as well as somebody who has spent her life also trying to fight for access to health care for kids and nutrition for kids and quality education for kids and the safety of their schools. So I appreciate and I respect that work. I do want to just clarify that the comments that my opponent did make were not accurate. I will not go word for word and respond, but I will just say that the FOP, in making their endorsement, said, quote, "The FOP does not make any endorsement lightly. However, we have long been impressed by your experience, intelligence, and commitment to the public safety of Ohio," end quote. So I clearly do have both experience in the legal traditional practice sense of the word, as well as public service. It would be a great honor if I could take that experience to the Court of Appeals and add it to the experience that already is sitting on that court. I believe that my insight as a lawyer, a former lawmaker, and an executive would add value that could truly ensure fairness and justice in every case for everyone who ever becomes before the court.
Thank you. Ms. Schaeffer.
Thank you again for the opportunity to share with you tonight. I need to emphasize that experience in our court system matters. Understanding the laws in the courts matter. Effectively managing a docket and being responsive to the litigants matters. Experience matters in this position. We're judging the judges who judge the cases that come before them at the trial court level. You've trusted me to be your judge for 6 years. The plain dealer recommended that I be retained, and I have earned their endorsement. I'm not a career politician, and you are safer with Schaeffer. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you. Mr. Salzgeber. Mr. Salzgeber, are you on the line still? Okay, we will move on to Ms. Ray.
Thank you, Daniel. I'd just like to ask the voters to please consider the resume when you vote this fall. I have a wide and deep understanding of statutory government and would be able to hit the ground running on day one as your state representative. The 69th District has been very lucky to have sent several very qualified statesmen to Columbus. It's time to send a qualified stateswoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Salzgeber, are you on the line? Okay, we'll move on to Ms. Oliver.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all again. I gave you a snapshot of my experience. I am familiar with both the juvenile and probate courts, the programming and the services available. In addition, as my service as a magistrate, I heard cases that were previously heard by the juvenile court and are now before the domestic relations courts. Those are the parentage and support cases. I am experienced, accountable, and committed. And just to reiterate, I am committed to protecting the welfare of children and other vulnerable populations presenting before the court. I'm committed to strengthening families and committed to the safety of this community. I believe that my experience can best be used and best put to use in public service as a judge. And I would be honored to serve this community in such a position. Again, my name is Kimberly Oliver. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your consideration. And I thank you for your votes. Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Kovac.
I'd like to thank Wadsworth Library for giving us the opportunity to speak and answer a few questions. Once again, my name is Michael Kovac, and I'm running for Medina County Commissioner. We've been posting letters every week on our Facebook page, Kovac for Commissioner. I recommend everybody go check them out. And just once again, I'm running for this position because it's time for our commissioners to practice transparency, and it's time for our commissioners to listen. A county commissioner is a public servant, and that's what I intend to do, serve the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Kimbler.
Thank you. I am the incumbent. I am the only candidate in this race who has judicial experience. My opponent has none. He has never been asked by either of the county's Republican muni court judges to sit as an acting judge, to the best of my knowledge. Whether this reflects a lack of preparation where he didn't ask for that or some other reason, I can't answer that. But to the best of my knowledge, he has no judicial experience. Not only have I done the job for the last 6 years, but I have done it with distinction. My drug court was honored by the Supreme Court of Ohio as only one of 3 drug courts in Ohio to be made into a documentary, which was then used for continuing legal education to train judges and attorneys throughout Ohio. I have handled a case out of Wadsworth, which was the case of Gavin Ramsey, who murdered his 98-year-old neighbor, and my imposition of life in prison without the possibility of parole was affirmed by the 9th District Court of Appeals. As I indicated, I have put into place practices and procedures, including my plea bargains, which have led to a 98% closing rate, which is one of the highest in the state of Ohio. I have learned tonight that my opponent seems to be unhappy that I do not rubber stamp plea bargains. If he thinks that that is the job of the judge, That speaks volumes as to why he is not qualified for this position. Can he handle a 4th or 5th degree felony? Sure, but he's not death penalty certified. I have handled a death penalty case and had my handling affirmed by the Ohio Supreme Court. And that is why I'm the best choice to be reelected to this position. Thank you.
Thank you. And it looks like Mr. Salzgeber has fixed his microphone. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Wadsworth residents, for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. In closing, I've had the honor of serving as your Medina County Recorder for nearly 2 years now. I have the real estate background and legal background and experience actually doing the job that my opponent clearly lacks. That's why I am endorsed by the Medina County Board of Realtors, as well as 2 of my recent predecessors as recorder, both Nancy Abbott and Colleen Swedick, and your Wadsworth Mayor, Robin Lawbaugh. This November 3rd, I respectfully ask for your vote to keep Joe Salzgeber as Medina County Recorder. For more information, please visit my website at keeprecorderjoe.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Returning to our order, Mr. Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Daniel, and thank you to the Wadsworth Library for having this forum tonight. To the voters of Wadsworth, I would ask them to understand who they are voting for and compare the credentials of the candidates, because credentials matter. I have actual experience managing multi-million-dollar budgets. At the Cloverleaf School District, we had a $26 million budget, and in the initial stages, we were in fiscal emergency. So we had to watch every penny very, very closely. At Westfield, I managed multi-million-dollar budgets and was there for 31 years and understand business principles. I'm a small business owner, and I can take many of the business principles and apply them to government. There are many that are not applicable, but many that are applicable and can make government more effective and more efficient. I have actual experience serving as a law director for 23 years. I have actual experience as a lawyer for 29 years. I have leadership experiences that my opponent simply cannot match. I have been the leader of numerous nonprofits, including president of the United Way Board, president of Northeast Ohio Dance Board, and currently president of Habitat for Humanity. So I'm Bill Hudson, and I'm asking for your support this November. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holman. You'll have to turn your microphone on, sir.
Sorry, I did that again. Apologize. This race is about contrast between my opponent and myself. Contrast between the fact that I have experience as a trial lawyer. He does not. As far as being a prosecutor, to my knowledge, he has not tried a case as a prosecutor. I'm the only candidate in a race who has tried felonies, who has tried murder cases, aggravated murder cases, and other violent felonies. It's also about a contrast about sanctions, which I referred to earlier. I have not been sanctioned. I am fiscally responsible. When I spent money in the prosecutor's office, I thought about the guy or gal who worked at the fast food restaurant for $8 or $10 an hour, and the guy on the factory floor who's going to have to pay for the items or pay for the raises that I was thinking about to give my staff. I ran a solid office. I managed all the departments in the office, and as an assistant prosecutor, worked in many of them: child support, civil division, juvenile, felonies. It was a pleasure to do so. My opponent talks about a technology allows his civil department to work in a more expedient fashion. Well, a number of them have hired outside counsel. In fact, last year, one township hired me to handle a legal problem. My opponent refers to trying cases as being archaic. That is the job of a county prosecutor and the office, to try cases. I started the DRETAC program, the delinquent real estate tax program, that has returned millions of dollars to our counties and schools. It's time for aggressive prosecution in the prosecutor's office. We can't have a case where a man steals $93,500 from children and gets probation. We can't have an office that recommends probation for a sex offender who victimizes a child within 5 days of being on probation. It's time for a change. I urge you to vote for Dean Holman for Medina County Prosecutor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Henry. Ms. Henry, are you on the line still? Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Hambly.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. I really appreciate it. You know, I've been blessed the last number of years, blessed by God and also the support of voters to serve as county commissioner for 18 years and as state representative of the 69th district, much of Medina County. I've had a number of accomplishments, both as a commissioner and as a state representative. And I can tell you that, well, when I was going to St. Ambrose, and I remember the parish priest, prideful boasting is a sin. But I would caution, too, prideful boasting is not a sin if it's true. So what I have my facts are on stevehambly.com. I invite you to check it out. But what I bring to you is experience that is needed now in tough times. I offer 6 years of experience of hard-won insight of state government processes and policies, as well as working relationships with state association and other legislators. This can benefit Medina County and our residents. The campaign ahead is not really about the past. It's really about the future. We are talking about the courthouse. We know the judges have said the courthouse is needed. We know Supreme Court justices have reviewed it. We know the lawyers that use it, and many of those that day in and day out experience that needs to be updated. And indeed, the whole idea is can be efficient and effective. The commissioners have done a good job of listening and taking the opportunity as much as possible to involve the public in making those decisions. And I'm grateful that they're moving forward with a plan that keeps both current courthouses, the new and the old. But next year, what we're going to have to talk about is what is government is efficient and effective. I have the experience and I've gone through tough times and I can bring that experience in leadership. I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grice.
Thank you, Daniel. And thank you also to the rest of the Wadsworth Public Library for putting this event on. Also, thank you to the viewers for allowing me the opportunity to introduce myself. I look forward to working with the dedicated men and women of the Medina County Sheriff's Office to provide the very best service to the Medina County residents because they deserve nothing less. I truly believe we can achieve great things when we work together. And I look forward to being the next Medina County Sheriff. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Mr. Godfrey.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you to the Wadsworth Library for putting this on. Again, my name is Aaron Paul Godfrey. I'm running for the U.S. House to represent Ohio's 16th District. This election is about a lot of issues. It's about ultimately the direction we want to see this country go forward. Whether or not you believe the government has no role in our lives except to redistribute wealth from the bottom to the top, or you believe that the government has some role in ensuring equal opportunity and equal access to basic services that help everyone in this district, everyone in Wadsworth and Medina County and beyond, achieve their full potential. My opponent in this race couldn't be bothered to show up tonight. He couldn't be bothered to show up to base any public event. What does that say about him? What does that say about the policies he believes? He knows he doesn't work for the voters. He has voted against a living wage. He's voted against rehabilitation for union pensions that have suffered through no fault of their own. He's voted against protecting older workers against discrimination in the workplace. The list goes on and on. He doesn't work for you. He doesn't work for me. I may be a nobody from nowhere. I may be from a working class family. I may have bootstrapped myself into being a scientist today, working alongside NASA and the Navy before that. But I believe the government should work for all of us. That's what I think this election is about. That's what I think this race is about. And I think that the incumbent fails to uphold his duties in this office. And I want to see that change. So please vote for me, Aaron Paul Godfrey, 16th Congressional District. Visit godfreyforcongress.com, Godfrey. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, and thank the Wadsworth Library for putting this on. It was very, very, very good. The court sees good people at the worst times, and it's very important that as judges, we allow that dignity of people to shine through. I strive very hard every day. I wake up and I'm passionate about my job. I want a fair call for every person who comes to that courtroom. every person who's on the line, every person to know that, hey, no one's peeking through the veil of justice trying to circumvent something. I show up to work every day. I'm in there early in the morning. I'm there late at night. You can't miss me. I take the steps to make sure that the orders are followed through. You can ask your Wadsworth school district. Young man decided he wasn't going to go to school. And I told him, you're going to go to school because I'm going to see you tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. I kept showing up at his door, banging on it, and getting him to the school bus and getting him to school. We do that because I said I would. We keep up our word, we keep up wearing our robe, and we do our job. We call balls and strikes right down the middle. Lady Justice doesn't discriminate against people in that manner. Learn more about me, www.reelectjudgedunn.com. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you for your time and your attention. And I hope all of us can get together here and make positive steps in the right direction instead of slinging mud and being negative towards each other. We have a community to uphold, and it's time for us to step up as electeds to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conway.
Hello, do I have contact? Can you hear me? Okay. I'd like to thank the voters of Wadsworth and Medina County for tuning in and watching this discussion. You know, the hot topic tonight seems to be the Medina County Courthouse. And my opponent suggests that the courthouse has been well designed and well thought out. I can assure you that is not the case. I'm a practicing trial lawyer who's argued cases from here all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court in state, and I've also argued cases in federal court protecting the rights of workers in various kinds of labor employment matters and defending the innocent who are wrongfully accused of crimes in criminal defense matters. And I can assure you that courthouse is not well designed, and the blueprints show it's under designed and over budget. You know, my opponent talks about his years in government service, but what he didn't point out to you is what his accomplishments were. I haven't heard any, did you? I mean, he says he was a county commissioner for 18 years and he was a state rep. The only thing I know about him in the state rep job is that he voted in favor of a bill that limits the rights of women in sexual harassment cases, wanted to amend that law. It didn't get passed, thank God. And he also voted in favor of a bill that undermined the equal protection for lawyers who fight for your rights by trying to get the personal income tax exemption taken away from them. So it's not how much time you spend in government, it's what you do with the time in government. I want Medina County to be the envy of the state of Ohio. I want Medina County to have economic opportunity. We don't want to just hand out money. We want that money to go for something that builds a future. Stick with me, vote for me, we'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Collins.
Thank you again for this opportunity tonight. If we take a minute, we can all think of a favorite teacher who inspired us and challenged us and cared about us. I had many of those teachers, and they are the reason why I care so much about education and have chosen to make it my life's work. With the right conditions, our teachers can set Ohio's kids up for success and opportunity, as some teachers did for everyone in this call tonight and the viewers watching the call. As your rep, I will address issues that are hindering our teachers' success and therefore the success of our kids. Issues such as wraparound supports and the over-reliance on testing. I also want to take a minute to commend Mrs. Woods and her work on the state report card. That's very important work right now, and I am confident that I will be able to continue that work if elected. With your vote, I look forward to being able to use my expertise and my experience to help support our schools across the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Callow.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to close here. I've always been told that negative campaigns tell you more about the person who's launching it than the target they're trying to come after. You know, tonight we're hearing these negative campaigns and attacks, and it's a disservice to our county, and shame on the people that are making it. Forrest Thompson, I saw him last time in a courtroom defending a death penalty case, or prosecuting a death penalty case. And Miss Kimbler, you must have forgotten the murder case that I had 2 years ago. And by the way, you want to know how good I am? Of course, I got a dismissal of that charge. That's how good of a lawyer you are. So we need to come together in a positive way. When I told the Medina County Republican Party, and when they endorsed me, I told them that I was going to have a positive campaign. See, I'm a lucky guy. My grandfather came over here with a third grade education and was a ditch digger, his first job. My father has a high school education along with my mother, and they raised 3 boys, 2 with doctorate degrees, all 3 have college degrees. And they have a whole bunch of college-age grandchildren who are all doing great jobs. They're all in college, a couple going for doctorate degrees now. So we find ourselves very lucky. This is a great country. This is a great county. I've been involved with the school system in Wadsworth for as long as I can remember. I've got a lot of experience with Medina and Buckeye and Brunswick. It's a great county. And the people that come in and want to be negative, shame on you. We should all be very happy. We should all be able to look across this screen and see the other people. I've been in these courtrooms. I've litigated against these lawyers. They're all very good. They're good people. We need to be more positive. My campaign's been positive since the beginning. We've been positive. We've come up with new ideas. We've been very excited to go out and meet new people. We've had great campaign events. We got another one coming up on Thursday night. We're real excited about it. We're going to move forward and positive. We're going to bring better leadership to this county. Leadership you can be proud of. I'd ask for your vote on November 3rd. Mike Callow for judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burke, are you on the line still? Okay, Ms. Brunner, are you on the line still?
Yes. I'm Judge Jennifer Brunner, and I happen to be, I'm a public servant who happens to be a judge. Public service is something that I've dedicated my life to. In fact, when I served as Ohio Secretary of State, I was awarded the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award, which was from a bipartisan board. When I had to think about what my speech would be there in Boston 12 years ago, I had to think about what the meaning of public service was to me. And it is fairness, equality, and respect, and carrying those propositions forward in everything that I do. I do have to say, this is very special when you get to see people from all walks of life step up. And it is the epitome of a good civil society in a democratic form of government. I do also want to point out that as a sign of respect, I think that Judge Kimbler should have been referred to this evening as Judge Kimbler and not Mrs. Kimbler. Anyone who's holding the office, while they may have the advantage of being an incumbent, still based on the respect for the judiciary that each of us as judges and as attorneys are required to help the public realize, we have to show that respect in the process. So thank you for having me this evening. I will run a fair campaign. I'll work hard until the end. And I greatly value the opportunity to speak to citizens tonight in Wadsworth. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, Mrs. B Height.
Hi, thank you. Janice Stanfield once said, "I cannot do all of the good the world needs, but the world needs the good that I can do." You know, when I see the headlines out there of the women or the working families and the unemployment lines and the people who are struggling right now, I see behind all of those numbers, I see the people behind those numbers. Now I see the working and families struggling. They're wondering if they're going to get their next paycheck. You know, they're wondering how they're going to pay rent this month and how they're going to put food on the table. I see you. I see the struggling businesses out there right now. They're closing left and right. The ones that are trying to stay open. You know, I've been there. I know what it's like to go out and find that next sale and pay your employees and keep your lights on. You know, I see you out there. And the seniors, they're struggling too. They're trying to figure out how to stretch the little paycheck and their Social Security to pay for, you know, their food and to pay for their health care. I see you. I like Janice said, I can't do all the good that the world needs, but I can do the good that we need right here in the 69th district. So I'm asking for your vote. Put me to work for you at the State House, because I will work for you and no one else. I will listen to you, and the transparency will be there in my office. I will work for you. I look forward to working for you. My name is Donna B Height. I'm running for the Ohio House of Representatives. And on November 3rd, I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This will conclude our forum for this evening. As we do every year, we just want to say thank you to the candidates, and to point out that, especially now, that it takes great courage to step up to the plate and to throw your hat in the ring in order to serve the public. And we appreciate you for all that you do. And we recognize this vital institution in our campaign forum and the work that you do, and look forward to working with you in the future. And good luck to all of you on the campaign trail, and have a good evening.
Thank you.